Today, I'm giving you a little bit more info about me. That's coming up on this episode number 2 of the Stepmom Club. Hi, my name is Grady Savage, and I am the host of the Stepmom Club Podcast. I realized that we'd already kind of jumped in with that last episode, and I hadn't given you any background or info about me, so I thought now's the time. So as I said, my name is Grady. I am a stepmom. I'm actually a stepmom to a 13-year-old girl, Jessica. It's crazy to me that she's 13. She just turned 13. And when I met her, she was 7. So her dad, my husband Christopher, and I got married in September of 2015. And that was awesome. Best day ever. We loved it and just had a great time. And I have been an official stepmom since then, although we referred to me as Jess's stepmom prior to that, just because I think it was easier for Jess to have a term to describe me to her friends and things like that. We do have Jess with us almost full time. She goes to visit her mom across the country over the summertime, so she is with us for this school year. So, as I said, Jess and I first met when she was 7 years old, and actually it was a complete surprise to both of us. I had been hanging out with Chris's roommate at the time. We had gone to the library, she and I, and we went back to the apartment, and we did not know that Chris and Jess would be there. I thought they were going to the movies, but I guess something changed. And so, lo and behold, there was Miss Jessica, and so I got to meet her, and that ended up being a really good beginning for us. Jess and I actually really get along fairly well. We're super similar in a lot of ways, have a lot of similar likes and dislikes. I think that helps, especially when she was younger. And yeah, it's just been really awesome. So that is the basic info about my family. Now, obviously, stepmotherhood is not without its many, many trials, and I don't want to gloss over that. But for the purposes of just giving you the basics of our family, things have been pretty good. All right, so that is the very, very basic info of our story. I actually went on my Facebook and asked some folks over there. That's Grady Bird blog on Facebook, if you're wondering. I asked some folks there if they had any particular questions they thought might be good to be answered from me here. Some of them are stepmom related, some of them are not, but I'm going to have a go with those. So the first question would be, how did you adjust to life as a stepmom? That is a giant question. It's huge. For me, my life before my relationship with Christopher was completely different than it is now. Completely. I was in my early 20s. I was living with roommates. I obviously had very little responsibilities. I mean, I had a full-time job, and that had a lot of responsibilities in itself. But otherwise, it was just me. And so transitioning into becoming a stepmom was a massive change, and it took a lot of conversations with Christopher and with trusted friends and my parents, just to manage that transition because it was huge. It was a complete life change, especially because Jess is with Christopher full time. So we, as far as kind of our dating relationship, we didn't have a ton of time to ourselves to get to know each other like most folks when they're first starting to date. So it was huge, just as far as our relationship, and then also just creating a family. It's very different when you're dating someone with a child because you are creating a family, not just a relationship that will kind of blossom into a family. So I used a lot of self-care, I would say, as well as just a lot of communicating with Chris all along the way about my needs in the moment, my needs in general. We just had a lot of conversations about how it was going to work for both of us and for Jess, of course, in order to make that adjustment a good one for everybody. So I don't know if there's one way I adjusted necessarily, but I think having an extremely open line of communication with Chris was imperative. I don't think we would be together if we did not have that. It's something I think I had never had in a previous relationship. I guess there hadn't been a need to have that super open communication that we definitely have, but I feel like that was huge in helping me adjust, because if I was having a struggle with one particular thing or just the way our household was running, I really felt comfortable bringing it up and trying to figure out a way for us to address it. So that was a huge way that I adjusted, was just a lot of open communication. And then also my schedule is mine. That maybe sounds selfish to anyone who doesn't live the stepmom life, but I do a lot of caring for Jess. I do a lot of watching Jess and taking her places and hanging out with her friends and all of that. But I base my plans off of what I would like to do. Obviously, I chat with Chris about it, but I do that. He is responsible for getting a caretaker for Jess. Now, 9 times out of 10, if he needs someone to watch her, I'm going to do it. But if I already have something that's really sacred to us and we've kept it that, I'm not going to have to not go see my friends because I'm watching her because he had something that afternoon that came up. Now, obviously, kids get sick. Kids have things happen. And obviously, I'm going to watch her whenever it needs to happen. But that was huge for us, that if my friends asked me to go out to coffee, I basically say, yeah, sure, if I want to. And then I let Chris know, hey, I'm not going to be available this day because I'm going out to coffee with my friends. That maybe sounds very silly, but that was huge for us because I didn't feel like every part of me was taken away or changed or whatever when we became kind of a family unit, which I think is different than a standard nuclear family situation. Okay, this is just a fun question. What makes you angry? Not in stepmom life, just in general. A lot of things like really are pet peeves, I would say. Probably one of my top, which is going to sound absolutely insane, but I really get frustrated when people switch. It's a grammar thing, of course it is. I really get frustrated when people switch the words hanged and hung. A picture is hung on the wall. A person who is sentenced to death is hanged. If you switch it, it's just super incorrect, and describing a person as being hung is a totally different thing, and not at all what you're meaning when you mean to say a person was hanged. So that I gotta cut that out. I can't believe I just said that, but it really bothers me. It really is like a grammar thing that just drives me crazy. So that, I don't know if angry is the right word, but it definitely, I bite my tongue if it's being misused and it's not a time when I can correct it, because it really bugs me. It drives me nuts. What makes you feel alive? Okay. A lot of things make me feel alive, but I'm going to give a super, super simple kind of cheesy answer. Running outside. And I don't mean running like exercising, like going for a run. I mean like when you just see like somebody far away from you and you just run towards them and there's a breeze in your face and you're just full of joy. I have asthma and had really, really like embarrassing asthma when I was a child. My lungs were a lot worse and I couldn't run for very long. I would literally need to take my inhaler if I ran for more than 100 feet or something. But I remember like it feeling so exhilarating when I would run for a really short period of time towards somebody. And I don't know why that is the answer that came to my head, but that makes me feel alive. It's the best. I love it. There are lots of other things too, but that is like one very, very specific thing that is just, it's like thinking about it is making me so stoked. I love it. Do you have any events or decisions in your life that created distinct before and after? Yeah, definitely. Being with Christopher, my relationship with him is a huge before and after, because as I said, it's not just a relationship. It's an entire family. It's an entire life change. I mean, I do a lot of parenting of Jess. So it was like single early 20s person to like a parent instantly. And so to me, that's a huge before and after. And not even specifically our wedding necessarily, although that was huge as well, but just kind of once the relationship started, there's just a lot of gravity in a relationship with someone with a child, because you know that it's not cash. Like, it's not like you're getting into something serious kind of immediately. And so that definitely is a before and after for me. In what ways are you the same as when you were a child, and in what ways are you different? Okay. I'm very nerdy still, and I was a very, very nerdy child. Super nerd. I also am very enthusiastic about things, and I think I always have been. I was always just that kid who was like really into stuff, and that's still me. When I was younger, I really could not at all control my emotions. I was like that kid who would just like cry if they were upset, or like if I got really angry, I would be angry, and kind of express that really outwardly in probably not the most appropriate of ways. Thank goodness I can handle my emotions quite a bit better than when I was a child. I am still a sensitive person, but I can kind of control myself much better than I could as a little kid. Thank goodness. But for the most part, I think a lot of my personality growing up is pretty consistent with my personality today, and I'm happy about that. I feel good about it. How would you spend your time if money and obligations were of no concern? Okay, I can 100% answer this question. I would write a lot. I would read a lot. Or I guess write a lot more, read a lot more. I would do more theater, and I would do more teaching. I used to teach theater to kids. It was my dream. It was the job of my dreams. The actual specific situation itself was not actually the most dreamy, and it's kind of a long story, but it was not right for me. But the job itself and just changing kids' lives in that way was huge for me. And I would love to get back to teaching or camp counseling or something like that at some point in my life. Or of course, someday maybe have a little nugget and I can teach them. But yeah, just that would be what I would do. And someday maybe I will, but for now, that is what I would do if there was kind of no other obligations or anything like that. And then kind of a side note on that, I would take a giant road trip across the United States, because one of my goals is to go to all 50 states for like a significant period of time. Not like days and days in each state, but not like, oh, I drove through the state, that counts. Like I want to at least eat a meal there or whatever. That's a huge goal of mine. So I would also do that. I would also take a good amount of time and just do a super long road trip. And someday that I will definitely do. So that's on my list for sure. Okay, so those were just a few quick questions to kind of get to know me and what I'm about. I'm super excited to be doing this podcast. I just feel like there are not enough resources out there for stepmoms. I'm really excited that since I've started blogging, I've definitely met a lot of amazing women who are stepmoms. Really excited to get a bigger community. If you want to check out my community, I do have a private Facebook group for stepmoms. If you just go to the Grady Bird blog page on Facebook, there are links and ways to join the group. It is private, so you do need to apply to get in there, but we'd love to have you there. And yeah, thank you so much for listening. I'm very excited to get to know y'all better and to feature some amazing stepmoms on this show. So thank you so much, and welcome to the club.